W5FC.
Echo-link KD5LQD. On a Saturday.
MCOMNet, second Monday at 7 p.m., W5FC. W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KS5PDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list, and remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically by going to the club website, w5fc.org, look for tonight's announcement, and click on the hot link to check in. We will acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry, if you want to check in via voice, we'll continue to do that too over air and Echolink. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, discussion topic of the evening, Was Up, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. We currently have the following people checked in via w5fc.org. We have KE5ICX, Tom in Corpus Christi, using the All-Star link. K5MCD, Cody in Dallas, over air radio. W5BLT, Bill in Garland, online Echolink. AG9SG, Antonio in Dallas, over air radio. N5LIG, Dale, Little Elm in over air radio. KE5JIT, Randy in Corpus Christi, online Echolink. WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas, on Echolink. N5BB, Bill in Irving, over air radio. And AA5AH, Robert in Richardson, online YouTube. So welcome to all that have checked in via the website. Now let's start with voice check-ins, starting with short time, low power check-ins. So if you're here low power, short time, please come now with your call sign name and where you're transmitting from this evening. Okay, I'm not hearing any over air low power short times, but I do see several folks checking in over on the w5sc.org site. So let me go back to that. So our next check-ins on the website are N5BB. Let's see, we got Bill and Irving, AA5AH, we got them. Let's see, KF5JHA, Chaz and Bob the Cat in Mesquite, multiple modes, and KJ5HTL, Hassan, Flower Mound, over air radio. Awesome, so welcome. Do we have any general check-ins? Let's go ahead and just move on to general check-ins. If you would like to check in via voice, please come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch. Kilo, India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike, Thomas. This is Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich and Rockwall, AG 5 p.m. This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Okay, let me go ahead and recognize those check-ins. We've got Kilo Golf 5, Uniform, Foxtrot, Romeo, Jacob, and Farmers Branch. This second one, I caught a lot of static on there. I think I caught Kilo India 5 and the name Thomas. And Charlie Mike, if you could come again with your call sign and maybe increase power or improve your position, because I caught a lot of static on that one. So that second check-in, if you would come again, I would appreciate it.
Yes, Kilo, India 5, Juliet, Charlie, Mike, Thomas, copy.
Okay, that time I got Kilo India 5, Juliet, Charlie Mike, Thomas. I still did not capture your location. I'm still not registering. Is somebody catching him on reverse over air? So, and you can, if you can type in the chat window, that would also be helpful too. Let me go ahead while we're getting that information. Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rich and Rockwall, and KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton, and we'll try to get your QTH Thomas. I also noticed over on the website check-in, we've got a few more over here. We've got Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar Brian in Terrell on Echolink. So welcome to all those who have checked in. Do we have any other general check-ins? If so, please come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tango. Sorry, Tony and Dallas. Kilo Echo 5, Delta Kilo Victor, Scott Seagoville. This is Whiskey 5, Golf Uniform, Sierra, Gus,
far, far northeast Dallas.
Okay, let me go ahead and capture those. We've got NV5S Virginia and Fort Worth, NT5TM Tony in Dallas. I think it was KE5 KDV Scott in Seagoville, and W5GUS Gus in Far Northeast Dallas. And I also see over on the website K9AHO, I believe I already got Brian, and K5JDW John in Coppell. So now we'll go over to Echolink. I think everybody that's checked in so far are the only folks that are on Echolink, but if there is someone on Echolink that has not checked in so far, I'll give you extra time if you'll just check in. And if you don't have a microphone, feel free to use the chat window, but I believe I've got everyone that's over on Echolink, except Jimmy, I see you over there, KD5LQD. If someone is on Echolink that has not checked in yet, please do so now. All right, we'll open it up for any mode. Any mode, if you'd like to check in, if you have not checked in yet this evening, we'll take any mode. Please come now with your name, call sign, and where you're transmitting from. Not hearing any additional check-ins, but I'm seeing that there are a lot of keyboard kitties out there, so welcome to all of our keyboard cats that are also helping out with the station controls tonight. So welcome to all felines that are out there. All right, and welcome to all that have checked in on Skynet. All right, let's go ahead with this evening's general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If you have an announcement, please come now with your name and call sign.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM, Tony, good evening. What announcements do you have for us this evening?
Well, thank you, Billy. I'm always very happy to hear you. I have several technical difficulties tonight, but none of them involved the subject of our movie. Tonight's afterglow movie discussion will focus on Star Trek Into Darkness. It's from 2013. It's one of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek reboot movies. It's definitely expensive, and it has real actors. Did you like it? Did you find it boring? Did you find it less than you expected? Was it awesome? I don't know. Talk about it with us tonight at about 10:30 or 10:35 or so p.m. We're not precise on when we start, but we're very enthusiastic on what we talk about. Now, this Monday will be a GeekNet. Anything you like will be welcome. I hear the birds chirping in the background. As long as you geek out about it. Stamp collecting, hummingbirds. Yes, the hummingbirds, the ruby throats especially, are getting common around here now. Monday at 7 p.m. is our GeekNet on this repeater. Be there or be bored and disappointed and not geeky enough. However, there's another chance to redeem yourself. Monday, March 31st, is our next surprise net. What will it be about? I don't know. It's a surprise. Who knows? Email NT5TM, November Tango 5, Tango Mike, at w5sc.org if you have a good idea. We've got to do something. We just hope it will be fun. wait until Saturday, March 29th. That is not only the first day of the CQ Worldwide Worked All Prefixes Contest, my favorite, but it's also the first day and only day of the White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club Wires in the Park event. We focus on simple wire antennas that we can put up in the park. The event starts at 10 a.m. and we meet at Dreyfus Point on the east side of White Rock Lake. Bring your snacks, bring your radios, bring your wires, bring your enthusiasm, and bring anything else under the sun. We'll be done by 5 p.m.-ish, but that's very much an approximate time. So is the 10 a.m. start time, for that matter. This is just a play day. We just go out there in the park and we have fun, and we invite all amateurs who can hear this repeater to come join us. And heck, if you can only hear us on Echolink, that's great too. We just want to give you a hug and help you put up a wire antenna there in the park. So I really hope to hear you, and I hope to see you. I hope to offer you snacks. NT5TM.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's always a pleasure to hear you, too. Is there anyone else with any announcements for this evening's net? If so, please come now with your name and call sign. Okay, not hearing any, so I'll go ahead with a few. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 3 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, you can check into the National AMSAT net, learn all about amateur satellites and how you can use them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones coming online. You will need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. 2 local nets are available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins. You can ask questions of the net control as well as others checked in. AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Tuesdays, Tom N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club night, so there's no AMSAT East on that night. The Dallas AMSAT Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC hosts a number of nets on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. Check the w5fc.org website. As Tony mentioned, this coming Monday will be GeekNet. Geek Beyond Ham Radio. This Monday, Geek Out, we expand topics to include computer, science, space, news of the weird, and much more. No topic is off limits just as long as it's geeky. Tony NT5TM is net control. Saturdays are the Night of Nets, where we keep the airwaves buzzing until midnight. Here's the lineup. TechNet, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Q&A on all things ham radio related. There's also a swap meet, Rookies Corner, news and information, and ham radio events and contests, alternating net control each week. Skynet from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Astronomy, space, and space exploration are the topics. Also, news and information, satellite passages, and the constellation of the week. Join this popular net about ham's second most favorite hobby, astronomy, alternating net controls. Afterglow Movie Net from 10:30 to midnight. Will it be a hit or the dreaded miss? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You make the call. More on that in a moment. First and third Sundays is the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. What's going on in your ham world? Tell us. Also learn about the club that maintains this popular repeater, the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Club news and information, events, activities, including club meetings, lecture and lab, public service events, contests, and just general discussion. Everyone can check into this net. And daily is the ARRLNet National Traffic System Training Net every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Learn how message traffic is handled on this formal training net. Newbies are welcome to check in as this is a training net. The NTS also conducts an evening net on the Irving repeater, Whiskey Alpha 5 Charlie Kilo Foxtrot 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And as promised, at tonight's Afterglow info, this movie is Star Trek Into Darkness. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us tonight's Afterglow info from KF5PDS.
Admiral Marcus's cocktail party was a mixed bag, at least to Kirk. He had his eyes on Carol, the Admiral's daughter, for quite a while, but it was the big mouth at the party, shouting and screaming, that disrupted his moves on the young lady. Some obnoxious partygoer blocked his way, spouting off about the 1990s eugenics wars, how the B-52's band was the best new wave band ever, followed by his ceaseless droning on about a flashing 12 o'clock on his VCR. It was the 23rd century. What a fuddy-duddy, Kirk thought. Kirk also noticed his name tag. It said, "Hello, my name is Just Khan." He knew something was unusual about the guy, but wasn't quite sure what it was. So, as Tony mentioned, join us tonight from the second film from the new Trek, as we call it, J.J. Abrams' series, Star Trek Into Darkness, tonight at 10:30 p.m. And if you look, you'll find the hot link on the website. You can actually click right into the movie if you want to do a quick review. That's it. Billy, back to you, KE5ICX.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, w5fc.org. So let's take a look at check-ins. We've already checked in everyone that's on the website check-in. Do we have anyone over air that would like to check in before we move on to our next part? I'll go ahead and take additional voice check-ins if you'll come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from. Okay, not hearing any, so we'll move on to Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. Good evening, everyone. This is KF5JHA Chaz. Slide master, slide number 1. Oh, Tom, I remember seeing this movie several times, but the plot seems different the way you read it. I don't know. On March the 28th, 2025, will be the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. That's in 6 days. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The feature speaker is Lint LaCour, the immediate past president of TASS. His topic is going to be AI image generation. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing station. On the fourth Saturday, that would be tonight, currently there are no scheduled stargazings. Now, if you want to keep up with things, check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. Billy, it's back to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Chaz. This is KF5PDS. Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is National Space Society events and activities. So this time I will turn the net over to Bill. N5BB, the net is yours from KF5 PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is N5BB. I am the Vice President and the Membership Director of the National Space Society North Texas Chapter. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S. which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The big event each year for the National Space Society is the International Space Development Conference, ISDC. The next ISDC will be held in Orlando, Florida on June the 19th to 22nd of 2025. Right now we're still in early bird registrations, but if you wait too much longer, you won't be able to get the cheap rates if you want to go to this event. And most of the hotel rooms are already sold out too in the main hotel. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The next chapter meeting will be held on Sunday afternoon, April the 13th. A presentation topic for this meeting is not yet known. Our meetings are also available virtually over WebEx. Contact N5BB if you'd like to attend online. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas Chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Chitter's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The next Space Rendezvous event will be held on Friday, March the 28th. That's next Friday, this upcoming Friday. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box on Facebook. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill, November 5 Bravo Bravo, at his Q or Z listed email address or at space@byrom.net, space@byrom.net. That's all I got, Billy. This is N5BB. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Bill. All right, next up is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours from KF5 PDS. Okay, I'm not hearing Brenda. Brenda, is everything okay at your station? Brenda, I'm not, if you're on air, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm not sure what's going on. If you want, I can go ahead with my segment and we can come back to you. Just let me know what you want me to do, KF5 PDF. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, so I'm going to go ahead with my segment for NCS topic of the evening, which is the Laniakea Supercluster. So Laniakea is Hawaiian for immense heaven. This is the galaxy supercluster that is home to the Milky Way and approximately 100,000 other nearby galaxies. It was defined in September 2014 when a group of astronomers, including R. Brent Tully of the University of Hawaii, Helene Courtois of the University of Lyon, and Yehuda Hoffman of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and Daniel Pomerade of CEA Université Paris-Saclay published a new way of defining superclusters according to the relative velocities of galaxies. The new definition of the local supercluster subsumes the prior defined Virgo and Hydra Centaurus supercluster as appendages, the former being the prior defined local supercluster. Follow-up studies suggest that the Laniakea supercluster is not gravitationally bound. It will disperse rather than continue to maintain itself as an overdensity relative to surrounding areas. As mentioned, Laniakea means immense heaven in Hawaiian, from Lani, heaven, and Akea, spacious or immeasurable. The name was suggested by Nawa'a Napoleon, an associate professor of Hawaiian language at Kapiolani Community College. The name honors Polynesian navigators who used knowledge of the sky to navigate the Pacific Ocean. The Laniakea supercluster encompasses approximately 100,000 galaxies stretched out over 160 megaparsecs, which is 520 million light years. It has the approximate mass of 10 to the 17th solar masses, or 100,000 times that of our galaxy, which is almost the same as that of the Horologium supercluster. It contains 4 subparts, which were known previously as separate superclusters. The Virgo supercluster, the part in which the Milky Way resides, the Hydra Centaurus supercluster, which contains the great attractor, Laniakea's central gravitational point near the constellation Norma, the Antlia Wall, known as Hydra supercluster, and the Centaurus supercluster. Then there's the Pavo Indus supercluster and the Southern supercluster, which includes Fornax cluster, Dorado, and Eridanus clouds. The most massive galaxy clusters of the Laniakea supercluster are Virgo, Hydra, Centaurus, Able 3565, Able 3574, Able 3521, Fornax, Eridanus, and Norma. The entire supercluster contains approximately 300 to 500 known galaxy clusters and groups. The real number may be much larger because some of these are traversing the zone of avoidance, an area of the sky that is partially obscured by gas and dust from the Milky Way galaxy, making them essentially undetectable. Superclusters are some of the universe's largest structures and have boundaries that are difficult to define, especially from the inside. Within a given supercluster, most galaxy motions will be directed inward toward the center of mass. This gravitational focal point, in the case of Laniakea, is called the Great Attractor and influences the motions of the local group of galaxies where the Milky Way galaxy resides and all others throughout the supercluster. Unlike its constituent clusters, Laniakea is not gravitationally bound and is projected to be torn apart by dark energy. Although the confirmation of the existence of the Laniakea supercluster emerged in 2014, early studies in the 1980s already suggested that several of the superclusters then known might be connected. For example, South African astronomer Tony Farrell stated in 1988 that redshifts suggested that the Virgo and Hydra Centaurus superclusters may be connected. So the neighboring superclusters to the Laniakea supercluster are the Shapley supercluster, Hercules supercluster, Coma supercluster, and the Perseus-Pisces supercluster. The edges of the superclusters and Laniakea were not clearly known at the time of Laniakea's definition. Since then, the study of the edges of the superclusters and of structures beyond them has substantially improved. Laniakea itself is a constituent part of the Pisces-Cetus supercluster complex, a galaxy filament. So there's information on the Laniakea supercluster, and there is also a great astronomy picture of the day from back in 2014 when this was first defined. So to find out more information, you can look out on various websites and Wikipedia. So this is KF5 PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, let's see if Brenda's back online. Brenda, for recent astronomical discoveries, I'll turn the net over to you, WB5OZL from KF5 PDS. Okay, I'm not hearing Brenda, so I'm going to go ahead and read the Science Daily article that's part of her section, Violent Supernovae Triggered at Least 2 Earth Extinctions. This is dated March 13th, 2025 from the Royal Astronomical Society. At least 2 mass extinction events in Earth's history were likely caused by the devastating effects of nearby supernova explosions, a new study suggests. Researchers at Kiel University say these super powerful blasts caused by the death of a massive star may have previously stripped our planet's atmosphere of its ozone, sparked acid rain, and exposed life to harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. They believe a supernova explosion close to Earth could be to blame for both the late Devonian and Ordovician extinction events, which occurred 372 million and 445 million years ago, respectively. The Ordovician extinction killed 60% of the marine invertebrates at a time when life was largely confined to the sea, while the late Devonian wiped out around 70% of all species and led to huge changes in the kind of fish that existed in our ancient seas and lakes. Past research has failed to identify a clear cause for either event, although they are thought to have been linked to the depletion of Earth's ozone layer, which could have been triggered by a supernova. The new study, published today by Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, found that the rate supernovae occur near to our planet is consistent with the timings of both mass extinctions. The authors say it is a great illustration for how massive stars can act as both creators and destructors of life. That's because supernovae are also known to spread the heavy elements that help form and support life across the universe. Supernovae occur when massive stars reach the end of their lives, run out of fuel, cool off, and then collapse under the pressure of gravity. The explosions are the biggest humans have ever seen. Lead author Dr. Alexis Quintana, formerly from Kiel University and now at the University of Alicante, said supernova explosions bring heavy chemical elements into the interstellar medium, which are then used to form new stars and planets. But if a planet, including Earth, is located too close to this kind of event, this can have devastating effects. Dr. Nick Wright from Kiel University added, supernova explosions are some of the most energetic explosions in the universe. If a massive star were to explode as a supernova close to Earth, the results would be devastating for life on Earth. This research suggests that this may have already happened. The researchers came to their conclusion after carrying out a census of massive stars within a kiloparsec, around 3,260 light years of the Sun. They were studying the distribution of these massive stars, known as OB stars, to learn more about how star clusters and galaxies form by using the Milky Way itself as a benchmark, and the rate at which these stars form in our galaxy. The census allowed the researchers to calculate the rate at which supernovae occur within the galaxy, which is important for observations of supernovae and the production of supernova remnants and massive stellar remnants such as black holes and neutron stars throughout the universe. The data will also be useful for future development of gravitational wave detectors, which are a useful tool for scientists studying the structure and origins of the universe. Okay, this article goes on for a little bit while. So this was on ScienceDaily.com, again entitled Violent Supernovae Triggered at Least 2 Earth Extinctions from March 13, 2025. So feel free to go to ScienceDaily.com to check out that article. All right, this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Let me pause for a check-in round and see if we have any further check-ins on our website here. I see one. I see November 5, Oscar Foxtrot. So welcome, Clay Mesquite, online on YouTube. Do we have any over voice check-ins? Anyone who would like to check in over air? So please come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J, near Weatherford.
Great. So we've got Clay and we've got KG5BZW. Jay, near Weatherford, welcome. Is there anyone on Echolink that would like to check in? If so, I'll give you some extra time. Please check in. Okay, I'm not hearing any other check-ins, so we'll go ahead to our next segment, which is Was Up. So at this time, I will return the net to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Thank you, Billy. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 2. We call this segment of Skynet What Is Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide number 3, please. We have talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location in Mesquite. This thing was supposed to erupt maybe as back in September, and it hasn't. So we're not quite sure why it's delayed. It's not following our predictions. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 4. Now, this image of the sun was on Thursday, March the 20th from spaceweather.com. Now, at times, the large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun is around its 11-year solar maximum. We're not quite sure when the solar maximum will occur until after it happens. I just talked about the solar eclipse cycle, the solar cycle, not the solar eclipse, the solar cycle, a couple of months ago on Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. So you're talking about a solar eclipse that just falls out of my mouth, yeah. Today, on March the 22nd, the moon is at its 3rd quarter phase. Won't see it until after midnight. It'll rise around midnight. So the current phase of the moon, is the 3rd quarter phase. On March the 29th, the moon will be new. On March the 30th, the moon is at its perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to Earth at a distance of 358,128 kilometers. On April the 4th is when the moon will be at its first quarter phase. The full moon occurs on April the 12th. On April the 13th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,295 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 6, please. Here comes the lightning round of several different events over the next couple of weeks. On March the 28th, the moon and Saturn will be in conjunction in the early morning eastern sky. Slide master, slide number 7. On March the 31st, the planet Mars and the bright star Pollux are in conjunction in the evening sky. Slide master, slide number 8. On April the 1st, the star cluster M45, known as the Pleiades, will be occulted by the moon in the afternoon daytime sky. Not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but if you have a telescope and you're not doing anything on April the 1st in the afternoon, you might want to point it toward the moon and watch for the occultation of a whole bunch of stars all at once. Slide master, slide number 9. On April the 2nd is the conjunction of the moon and Jupiter in the evening sky. Jupiter is that bright thing in the straight overhead right now in the evening sky. Slide master, slide number 10. On April the 5th, there's a conjunction of the moon and Mars and the bright star Pollux in the evening sky. Now, Mars is a little bit further east of Jupiter, and yes, it's in the constellation of Gemini, the twins right now. Slide master, slide number 11. On April the 6th, you can observe the conjunction of the moon and the star cluster M44. That's also known as the Beehive cluster. That's also going to be in the evening sky. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 12. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, hearing nothing, we'll go to slide master, slide number 13. So, as the moon wanes, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least right now. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, back to our net control. That would be Billy, KF5PDS.
Great, thank you, Chaz. Yes, this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is space exploration and space history. So at this time, I'm going to turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us that report from KF5PDS.
All right, thank you, Billy. And this is put together here by Brenda, also WB50ZL. So the two of us put this together every week. So I'm going to read it this week. NASA's SpaceX Crew 9 back on Earth after a science mission. NASA's SpaceX Crew 9 completed the agency's 9th commercial crew rotation mission to the International Space Station on Tuesday, splashing down safely in the Dragon spacecraft off the coast of Tallahassee, Florida. Throughout its mission, Crew 9 contributed to the host of science and maintenance activities and technology demonstrations. Williams conducted 2 spacewalks, joined by Wilmore for one and Haig for another, removing a radio frequency group antenna assembly from the station's truss, collecting samples from the station's external surface for analysis, installing patches to cover damaged areas of light filters on the X-ray telescope, and more. Williams now holds the record for total spacewalking time by a female astronaut at 62 hours and 6 minutes outside of the station. It's the fourth on the all-time spacewalk duration list. Space Archives historic first radio telescope observations on the moon. NASA has successfully completed the first ever radio telescope observations from the moon using the Rolls-1 telescope aboard the Intuitive Machines Odysseus lander. Despite a rough landing, the telescope remained operational, offering a new perspective on cosmic dark ages and paving the way for future lunar astronomy. The mission represents a pioneering achievement in lunar-based radio astronomy. Mounted on the Intuitive Machines Odysseus lunar lander, the Rolls-1 radio telescope has achieved the groundbreaking feat of conducting the first ever radio telescope observation from the moon despite encountering a challenging landing situation. This milestone ushers in a new chapter in astronomical research, enabling scientists to investigate cosmic phenomenon from a vantage point that is free from radio noise prevalent on Earth. The major triumph of the mission was the telescope remained functional even after the lander tipped over, allowing it to gather invaluable data and could enhance our understanding of the universe's early stages known as the cosmic dark ages. Next up are birthdays. We have Walter Cunningham, was born on March 16th in 1932. He flew on Apollo 7. We've got Michael J. Blumenthal, was born March 16th, 1959. He was on STS 86, 97, and 110. Next up, James Irwin, was born March 17th, 1930, and flew on Apollo 15. Ken Mattingly was born March 17, 1936, and he flew on Apollo 16, STS-4, and STS-51C. Kapana Chawla was born March 17, 1962. She flew on STS-87, 107, and the UTA. And then finally, James Reilly was born March 18, 1954. He flew on STS-89, 104, and 117. Now on to space history. We have on March 16th in 1966 was the first successful space docking. Spacecraft docking capabilities depend on space rendezvous and the ability of two spacecraft to find each other and station keeping in the same orbit. This was first developed by the United States for Project Gemini. It was planned for the crew of Gemini 6 to rendezvous and manually dock under the command of Wally Schirra with an uncrewed Agena target vehicle in October of 1965. But the Agena vehicle exploded during launch. On a revised mission, Gemini 6A, Schirra successfully performed a rendezvous in December of 1965 with the crewed Gemini 7 approaching to within 1 foot, but there was no docking capability between the two spacecraft. The first spacecraft docking was performed under the command of Neil Armstrong between Gemini 8 and an uncrewed Agena target vehicle on March 16, 1966. Manual dockings were performed on 3 subsequent Gemini missions in 1966. On March 18, 1965, the Soviet Union's Voskhod 2 launched carrying 2 crew members, Pavel Belyaev and Alexei Leonov. The spacecraft was equipped with an inflatable airlock, which allowed Leonov to make the first spacewalk in human history. The walk lasted 12 minutes, but as he tried to re-enter the airlock, Leonov noticed that he could barely move his limbs because the suit had inflated and stiffened. He released pressure on the suit to dangerously low levels to enable himself to operate the airlock and re-enter the spacecraft. Leonov and Belyaev also faced dangerous challenges on their return. Due to a delay in their re-entry process, they landed far off target in deep snow in a wolf-infested forest of Siberia. They spent a very cold night in the capsule while awaiting rescue the next day. For halfway across the visible universe was detected by NASA's SWIFT satellite. The explosion was so powerful that the afterglow was briefly visible to the naked eye, making it the most distant object ever seen by humans in recorded history. To put it in perspective, that means the explosion occurred before our solar system was ever formed. 20th, 1962, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev responded to President John F. Kennedy's March 7th letter suggesting teamwork in space exploration. Khrushchev was positive about the prospect of international cooperation, saying that in the future, international cooperation in the conquest of space will undoubtedly extend to ever newer fields of space exploration if we can now lay a firm foundation for it. Khrushchev's letter prompted talks between representatives between the Soviet Union and the United States and ultimately led to the first U.S.-USSR agreement on space cooperation. The agreement was signed just a few months later in June of 1962. First, 1965, NASA launched the Ranger 9 lunar probe. This probe was designed to image an impact on the moon's surface, Alphonsus, which was thought to be the site of relatively recent volcanic activity. The spacecraft carried 6 cameras that were pointed directly at the moon's surface during the final phase of flight. 20 minutes before the impact, the camera system began to warm up, and for the final 19 minutes before impact, Ranger 9 successfully relayed nearly 6,000 high-resolution images, some of which were broadcast live on television. Data from the mission dramatically improved scientists' understanding of the moon's mass and led to the discovery of the moon's center of mass is displaced from its geometric center. On March 22, 1997, comet Hale-Bopp made its closest approach to Earth. Hale-Bopp was discovered independently by Alan Hale and Thomas Bopp while it was just outside of Jupiter's orbit in 1995. At nearly 665 million miles away, this made Hale-Bopp the farthest comet discovered by amateurs at the time. Being unusually bright, Hale-Bopp probably wasn't that difficult to spot. It appeared 1,000 times brighter than Comet Halley did in the same distance. Hale-Bopp won't return again until around 4385. And yes, I saw it. Hopefully you did too. March 22nd, 2010. After 5 successful years of operating on Mars, the Mars exploration rover Spirit sent its last transmission to Earth. Spirit landed on Mars on January 4th, 2004, 3 weeks before Opportunity. The rover successfully completed its 90-sol mission and functioned 20 times longer than expected. On May 1st, 2009, Spirit became stuck in soft sand. After numerous attempts to wrest Spirit from the soil, NASA decided to continue Spirit's mission as a stationary platform. Spirit functioned in this capacity until this day in 2010. Spirit gathered a bounty of scientific data about Mars in addition to the spectacular pictures you've probably seen in relaying data critical to characterizing the current and past geologies of Mars. Spirit brought us closer to understanding the role of water on Mars and whether there were conditions there in the past that could be supported life as we know it. And that's it. Back to you, Miss Billy, from KE5ICX.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom. Let's go ahead and do a little check-in round. I'm not seeing anybody new checked in on the club website check-in, but let's see if there are any over-air check-ins. If so, if you'd like to check in over air, please come now with your name, call sign, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4 Mike Foxtrot India WP4MFI Ted Dallas Low Power.
Great. WB4MFI, Ted Dallas, low power. Welcome to Skynet. Are there anyone else that would like to check in any mode? If you'd like to check into this evening's net, please come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from. Okay, not hearing any, so we'll move over to Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. So this time I will return the net to Chaz, KF5JHA. The net is yours from KF5PDS.
Billy, once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 14. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019 with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is a twofer, two constellations for the price of one. Yep, it's a bargain sale tonight. Leo the Lion and Leo Minor the Small Lion. Now, Leo is one of the zodiac constellations. You know, that's where the planets and the moon and the sun travel through. And it's the 12th largest constellation in size, occupying an area of 947 square degrees. Leo is one of the oldest constellations in the sky. Archaeological evidence suggests that Mesopotamians had a constellation similar to Leo as early as 4000 BC. The Persians knew the constellation as Shur or Seir. Babylonians call it the Great Lion. The Greeks associated Leo with Nemean, the Nemean lion, the beast that was killed by Hercules during his first of his 12 labors. The lion was placed among the constellations because it was the king of the beasts. In the sky, the 6 bright stars of the constellation that form the sickle of the lion represent the lion's head. And what I consider one of the most important segments of Skynet, the jokes of the week, that would be slide number 15, please. Here we go. If you don't know the rules, you can boo and hiss. If you have Echo Link, you can go over there and make comments about my wonderful, fantastic jokes. Okay, here we go. What kind of animals and how many do you need to make a square? You already know the answer to this, really. What kind of animals and how many do you need to make a square? You need 4 lions. Get it? 4 lions? What do you call a lion with chicken pox? Maybe I should say measles with the outbreak in West Texas. What do you call a lion with chickenpox? A dotted lion. What do you call a lion wearing a stylish hat? That would be a dandelion. What's a lion's running? What do you call a lion that is running a copying machine? That would be a copycat. How do we know lions are religious? Because they pray frequently and pray as a family. Come on, that was funny too, wasn't it? And the final joke when I do the final joke introduction at the task meetings, they all applaud and cheer. What street do lions live on? That would be Main Street. You know, the hair on the back of the lion's head is called Main. Okay. And this was KF5JJ, and this was Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 16. All right, to find Leo the lion in the sky, let's start with something familiar. Orion. Find Orion in the southwestern sky tonight. And it's clear, really clear the last time I looked outside. The two shoulder stars are Bellatrix and Betelgeuse. Draw a line from right to left from Bellatrix to Betelgeuse, and keep on going. You should run into the brightest star in Canis Major, Procyon. Keep on drawing the line past Procyon and should run into the brightest star in Leo called Regulus. Slide Master, slide number 17. Regulus, Alpha Leonis, means the little king. Robert Burnham notes in Burnham's Celestial Handbook that Regulus has been almost universally associated with ancient cultures with royalty and a kingly power. Regulus is a multiple star system with Regulus B and Regulus C easily observable in just about any astronomical instrument as a single star, but what appears as a single star can be split with large astronomical telescopes and good seeing conditions. Regulus itself is a B-type star, blue-white in color. Regulus lies only half a degree from the ecliptic, so it is fairly common for the moon to pass very near it, and sometimes even the moon will occult Regulus. Now, show of hands out there. Is there anyone that was alive in July 7th on 1959? July the 7th, 1959. If so, how old were you? On that date, the planet Venus occulted the star Regulus. This is extremely rare event. Maybe I should drop the mic. Let's see if somebody did see it. Did anyone out there observe this event? Come now with your call sign if you did. No, I was hoping for something. Okay. Alciba, this is Gamma Leonis. It's derived from the Arabic phrase which means the lion's mane. It is an interesting double star with the primary having an orange-red color and the companion is a yellowish-green, which makes for a nice color contrast, at least for some people. Just 2 degrees to the northwest of Gamma Leonis is the radiant for the most famous Leonid meteor shower, which peaks on November 17th each year and originates from the comet 55P Tempel-Tuttle. Slide Master, slide number 18, please. The Leo triplet, or the Leo trio, M65, 66, and NGC 3628. These 3 galaxies are so close together it's easy to fit all 3 of them in the same low-power field of view in a telescope. They can be observed in as small as a 3-inch telescope. They look like small, fuzzy, faint fuzzballs with slightly differing shapes. An 8-inch telescope easily shows all 3 galaxies. Photographs show NGC 3628 dust lane and an asymmetric spiral structure on M66, which contributes to the listings in the ARP Atlas of Peculiar Galaxies. Now, I should be eating pretzels at the same time as doing that, should I? Yeah. Slide Master, slide number 19. The object M105 is an elliptical galaxy. Dave Hutchinson writes that in Celestron 8, it essentially looks like a big fuzzy cotton ball. In his book, The Messier Object, Stephen James Amira writes that M105 is perhaps the purest object of the Messier catalog. Now, that's quite a statement, and that its slightly oval disk shows the least amount of imperfection. M105 is has two nearby but somewhat fainter companions, NGC 3384 and NGC 3389, that can be easily fit in the same field of view. It also has two slightly more distant companions that are Messier objects 95 and 96. Slide Master, slide number 20, please. Now, I just talked about it, M95 and 96. Dave Hutchinson writes that M95 and 96 are two beautiful spiral galaxies that can be seen in the same field of view using an 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain telescope. With a wide-angle field of view and a 20 power, you may be able to see M105, M95, and 96 in the same field of view. 95 is a barred spiral galaxy, and the higher power its central bar is visible. M96 is classified as a normal spiral galaxy. Some structure is visible with higher magnifications. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 21. We're going to go to Leo Minor. Leo Minor is a small, faint constellation in the northern sky with only one star brighter than fourth magnitude. The constellation name means the smaller lion in Latin. Leo Minor was created in 1687 from 18 stars between the larger constellations of Leo and Ursa Major and has no myth associated with it. Leo Minor is the 64th constellation in size, occupying only an area of 232 square degrees. Slide Master, slide number 22. Beta Leonis Minoris is the only star in Leo Minor that has a Greek letter name. It's the second brightest star in the constellation. Beta Leonis Minoris is a binary star. Components have stellar designations G834, F84, which means that they are yellow giant subgiants and yellow white subgiants. The brighter star is 36 times more luminous than the Sun and about twice the mass. It has 7.8 times the Sun's radius. Companion is 5.8 times more luminous than the Sun and 1.35 solar masses. It has twice the solar radius. The stars have apparent magnitudes of 4.4 and 6.12 and are approximately 146 light years distance from our Sun. Slide Master, slide number 23, a very interesting object coming up next. The object is Hani's Bulwarp. It's a quasar ionization echo, a rare type of astronomical object that was considered to be an unidentified astronomical object at the time of its discovery. It was the first discovered by Hani van Arkel, a Dutch school teacher, in 2007. She discovered the object while taking part in the Galaxy Zoo project as an amateur volunteer. The object's name, Hani's Bulwarp, means Hani's object in Dutch. Astronomers have found that this is the only visible part of a 300 light-year long gaseous streamer stretching around the galaxy IC 2497. The greenish bulwarp is visible because of a searchlight beam of light coming from the galaxy's core illuminates it. This beam comes from a quasar, a bright energetic object that is powered by a black hole. We've talked about quasars before in the Skynet before. We'll have to do that again soon. This is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet on the W5FC repeater. Slide Master, slide number 24. We have at least 4 cats that are accounted for over there on Echolink. One is asleep. Bob the cat is left the computer area. That's a good thing. Anyway, Snowy and Coco, I'm not sure where they are. There are a few more, this is slide number 24. There are a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Leo the Lion and Leo Minor the Small Lion. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. Now, the Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs. Now, most of them have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. And that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Slide Master, slide number 25. Leo the Lion and Leo Meyer the Small Lion. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal from them for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now next week we'll take a look at another twofer, Pyxis the compass and Antilla the pump. There's a compass and a pump in the sky? Yep. We'll talk about those next week. And this is KF5JHA. Chaz saying goodnight at 73, back to our net control. Oh, by the way, I understand that we have a different net control next week. It's kind of a weird guy.
Great. Thank you very much, Chaz. And in keeping with our Lion theme tonight, I know you take a lot of pride in the reports that you put together, so we greatly appreciate it. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up is space launches for this week. And then I believe there's, let me look, satellite passes as well, and those are both Tom's. So Tom, KE5ICX, I'm going to turn the net over to you for space launches for this week. And if you want, you can roll right into your next segment for visible satellite passages. So this is to Tom, KE5ICX from KF5PDS.
All right, thank you again, Billy. This is KE5ICX. So our space flight launches, space launches for this week come from spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. And you can go there and get all the information on any satellites, not just the ones that I read, as well as AMSAT satellites and their passes. So we have March 24th, Spectrum. Going full spectrum is called. This will launch from Launch Complex 1 at Andøya Spaceport in Norway. That's a new one on me. This will launch at 12:30 p.m. CET time. The the ISAR Aerospace will launch its first Spectrum rocket on a test flight dubbed Going Full Spectrum. The 92-foot tall rocket is set to lift off from the Andøya Spaceport in Norway. This mission will not carry any customer payloads, but rather is a test of the fully integrated rocket, which will attempt to reach orbit. Then we have on March 24th, to be determined, this will be Admiral 69, launching from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. This mission will launch on behalf of the National Reconnaissance Office. First stage will target a landing site at Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. We don't have a date on this one. It is in March. Message in a booster, it's called. SLC-2 from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. This Firefly Aerospace Alpha rocket will launch Lockheed Martin's LM-400 satellite bus to low Earth orbit. The sixth launch of the Alpha rocket, designated FLTA-006, marks the second flight within a multi-launch agreement between Firefly Aerospace and Lockheed Martin, which may include up to 25 missions within a 5-year time frame. Doesn't say anything about what it does, though. Another interestingly named one, March 26, 27, from Electron, Finding Hot Wildfires Near You is the name of the mission. It's from Launch Complex 1, Pad B, Mahia, New Zealand. The Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch 8 satellites for Phase 1 of the German-based Aurora Tech's wildfire detection constellation. The satellites will head into a 550-kilometer circular Earth orbit at an inclination of 97 degrees. And it says Rocket Lab will not attempt to recover the first stage. And we have on March 26th the launch of Starlink 11-7. This will be from Vandenberg. It will launch another batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites in low Earth orbit. And we have on April 1st Falcon 9 FRAM-2 launch. This is from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy. This will be 4 commercial satellites into a 90-degree inclination polar orbit to begin a 3-day free flyer mission on board Crew Dragon Resilience. The crew is led by Chung Wang, a cryptocurrency investor and co-founder of Bitcoin mining company F2 Pool. He is joined by Norway's Jannik Mikkelsen, vehicle commander, Australia's Eric Phillips, vehicle pilot, and Germany's Rebecca Rogg, mission specialist. This will be the 4th launch of a Dragon Resilience, which will feature the return of the cupola addition to the nose cone. It replaces the Skywalker apparatus used during the Polaris Dawn mission. Now go ahead and move on to Heavens Above. This is from the heavensabove.com website. You can go ahead and put in your longitude, latitude, or your city, and it will produce all the passes for all the different satellites and give you local Dallas time in the process. So the ISS has several decent passes coming up. We have March 27th. This will be a minus 1.9 magnitude at 2117. Reach its highest point at 2119 at 21 degrees, and it'll fall to 21 degrees north-northeast, so it'll go into shadow. 28 has a pretty good pass, minus 1.6 magnitude. This is at 2029, and it reaches its highest point at 15 degrees at 2031, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 2023. March 29, minus 3.8 magnitude. This is the good one, folks. 2116. Out of the northwest, it will reach its highest point at 2119 at 69 degrees, and it'll go into shadow at 2119. So it'll reach its highest point and then boop, disappear. March 30th has a good pass. There's actually 2 that evening, but the better one is a minus 2.9 magnitude at 2028 out of the north-northwest. Reach its highest point at 2031 at 36 degrees, and it'll fall to the northeast at 2023. Next up is Tiangong. There are a number of fairly good passes. They are not very bright, but the brightest ones are March 22nd. This was a pretty good one. Well, wait a minute. Let's see. Oh, this one has already passed. Scratch that. March 30th will be the next decent pass. Actually, let me give you March 31st. That's the better pass. I think that's what I wanted to put in, and I got the other one. So it is March 31st, minus 2.1 magnitude at 6:30 a.m. It reaches its highest point at 6:33 at 82 degrees, and it'll fall to the east-southeast at 6:36. And that's it. I'll send it back to Miss Billy. This is KE5 ICX.
Great, thank you very much, Tom. This is KFI PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Okay, so at this time, let me do some check-ins here. Let's see. Looking over on the club website check-in, I don't see anybody new there. But if there anyone that's on air that has not checked into this evening's net yet, please come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from. Okay, not hearing any. Are there any check-in stations with any remarks or questions? Or does anyone need any fills? If you have a question or need a fill on any information, please come now with your call sign. Okay, let's do one last call for check-ins. Last call. If anybody would like to check into this evening's net just to get into the count, please come now with your name, call sign, where you're transmitting from. Last call for check-ins. All right, hearing none, so we'll go ahead and close this evening's net. So tonight we had 28 hands participating on the air. Thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5PDS, Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:26 local time and returning your repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And remember to come back at 10:30 for the Afterglow movie net, Star Trek Into Darkness. 73, everybody.
And thank you, Billy, and that's correct. We'll be back in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So go make your microwave popcorn, come back, and we'll be discussing Star Trek Into Darkness from 2013.
Normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, as Constellations sing once said, time's up. So, tonight's movie is called Star Trek Into Darkness. It was released in 2013 and was directed by J.J. Abrams and written by Roberto Orci, Alex Kurtzman, and Damon Lindelof. It is the 12th installment in the movie installments of the Star Trek franchise and is a sequel to the 2009 film entitled simply Star Trek. Not simply Star Trek, just Star Trek. It is the second in a rebooted film series featuring Chris Pine as Captain Kirk, Zachary Quinto, Simon Pegg, Carl Urban, Zoe Salvenia, John Cho, Anton Yelchin, Bruce Greenwood, and a guy named Leonard Nimoy reprising their roles from the previous film. Benedict Cumberbatch, Alice Eve, and Peter Weller are also in the film's principal cast. It was Nimoy's last film appearance before his death in 2015. Set in the 23rd century, the film follows Kirk and crew of the USS Enterprise as they are sent to the Klingon homeworld seeking the terrorist John Harrison. After the release of Star Trek, Abrams, Burke, Lindelof, Kurtzman, and Orci agreed to produce its sequel. Filming began in January of 2012. Into Darkness visual effects were created by Lucasfilm's Industrial Light Magic, and the film was converted to 3D during its post-production stage. I saw it in 3D. Boy, was that annoying. It premiered at Event Cinemas in Sydney, Australia on August 23rd, 2013, and it was released to IMAX theaters May 15th, with release in standard format theaters the next day. Into Darkness was a financial success and received positive reviews from critics. Its gross earnings of over $467 million worldwide had made it the highest grossing entry in the Star Trek franchise. It was also nominated for Best Visual Effects at the 86th Academy Awards and was followed by Star Trek Beyond in 2016. And since then, we have not had any theatrical Star Trek releases. That's a very long time, almost as long as the time when it went off the air and then came back as a motion picture back in the 60s and 70s. Read the plot simply because this is a very long description, but essentially they have a terrorist who attacks the Federation, and it turns out they were going to go chase him, and they go find him, and then they try and arrest him, and then they try to kill him, and they don't manage to do so, and then he ends up doing a bunch of really crazy things. Wasn't that great? I knew you'd like it. And the unknown to Spock, the USS Vengeance, which seems to be known by everybody else, shows up from Section 31. Okay, well, with that, I did a really terrible job with that. A bunch of people starred in this thing, as I mentioned earlier, so it was a very large cast. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. We're going to be talking about the film, the second one in the series, and we will start with check-ins, followed by everyone gets to take turns on plot. Did they like it? And aspects of it that were bad and good. Followed by a second round, which includes acting and characterization. A third round, which is all the technical effects, music, and anything you missed on the first two rounds, or things that have come up that you would like to discuss. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. Please come with your call sign, probably phonetically, although I usually know the usual suspects, your name, and did you see the film? Now, you can still check in if you didn't see the film. It's perfectly okay. If you want to talk Star Trek in general or any science fiction film that may sound suspiciously like, you're welcome to do so. And then we will ask you if you think this is a film for you since you have not seen it. So, either way, if you've seen it, fine. If you've not, that's okay too. Check in anyway. So, please come with your call sign, your name, and did you see Star Trek Into Darkness? We'll get started now.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra. I did not see the movie, just a short time tonight.
This is WB5OZL. Brenda, I did see the movie, and I'm on my cell phone. Not sure if this is going to work.
This is Kilo 9 Alpha Hotel Oscar. I did see the movie, but it was back when it was originally released, so it's been a minute. I remember that I did like it, but I don't remember much. K9AHO.
This is Whiskey 5. Bacon, lettuce, tomato? Yes, I saw this movie, if you can call it that.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia. I did see this earlier today, and I've seen it a few times.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman on Echolink. I saw it when it came out, and I have not seen it since, so my memory is also quite fuzzy on it. But I'm here to enjoy some of the discussion, and I will also be short time. KF5 PDS.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, just getting in on the end of the list. I saw this. Oh my gosh. What color casts we have here in East Dallas?
I can hear you, and you did see the film. K9AHO. Did see the film. Could I get your name, please?
Certainly, yeah, this is K9AHO. The name is Brian. I'm formerly KJ5GNF. Just got a new vanity call, and located here in Terrell. Mostly here to listen to all y'all's comments, as it'll probably remind me of the movie that I remember I liked, but I can't remember why. K9AHO.
Ah, very good. Thank you, Brian, and congratulations on the new call. I got W5DLT, Bill, yep, he saw it, and V5F, Virginia, yes, she saw it today, and KF5PDS, Miss Billy, short time, also saw the film, so yes. I'll see if I can move you up in the list, since we may only have you on this one round. Okay, well, let's do this. Gosh, you have not seen the film. I assume you've probably seen Star Trek at least once in your life. So listen up and see if you like the plot. I'll start with Brenda, WD5OZL. Brenda, your thoughts on plot for Star Trek Into Darkness.
Well, I love this movie, and I thought the plot was great. I didn't have any real problem with it any more than most Star Trek movies. I thought it was pretty well developed. It held my interest totally. A lot of action, a lot of fights, a lot of activity, and the kind of things we like with Star Trek. So I don't want to belabor the thing. It's just, I thought it was a pretty good plot. I don't have any problems with it. So I'll turn this back to Net, WD5OZL.
Well, that was quick. Okay, well, and I forgot to ask for another round of check-in, so I'll get to you folks in a minute. Billy, I'm going to move you up to the top there in case you have to go, so right after Brenda. KF5PDS, Miss Billy, what did you think about the plot for our fine film? By the way, thank you for doing that control this evening.
Well, thanks, Tom. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. I love doing Skynet. Yeah, like I say, I really don't remember a lot of the details, but I do remember liking the film greatly as well. And I do need to see it again, and I'm not sure why I haven't watched it, because I did like it when it came out. I enjoy, as far as I remember, I didn't have any problems with the plot. I thought I liked it. I don't have any impressions of it being too long or too complicated or not interesting enough or anything like that. I do, like the concept of Khan. I loved Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Khan. And I do like the fact that, J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof, who were also involved, with the creation of Lost. So when I saw J.J. Abrams was going to be doing these reboots, I was really excited about that. So I remember having all good impressions. Unfortunately, I don't have any details because it really it has been a long time since I've seen the film, so again, I really don't have much to contribute tonight, but I'll stick around as long as I can, but I may duck out after this round. So anyway, I really don't have much to say. I'm very sorry. This is KF5PDS backing up.
Oh, that's all right. It was a number of years ago, and you haven't seen it recently. I needed a refresher myself. I didn't remember a lot of details when I saw it, until I saw it last night. So next up is Brian, K9AHO. Brian, your thoughts on the plot for our film Star Trek Into Darkness?
Well, since I have seen it only when it was first released, I don't recall too much. But the one thing that sticks out the most was seeing the trailer for the movie, and I believe it was Captain Kirk riding a motorcycle on a very long road through farmlands. And I thought that was a very odd thing to feature on the trailer, and it piqued my interest. Other than that, I'll have to remember along with y'all as we continue the conversation tonight. K9AHO.
Oh gosh, maybe I should have read the synopses for it. People are coming up a little. That was the first film, Brian, but that's okay. And the third film. He had a motorcycle in the first film and the third film, but not the second one, which is the one we're talking about. Unless he had it hiding in his garage or something on the Enterprise. It's possible, I suppose. All right, next up is Bill, W5BLT. Bill, what do you think about the plot for our fine film this evening?
Well, okay. So I want to like it, and I don't want to like it. I'm kind of in the middle here. I don't know that I'll watch it again. I think to understand this plot, you have to understand maybe the first movie and how all this came about, and I guess there were two ships that were thrown back into an alternate universe. And the alternate universes, I've personally never been a big fan of. I think it's kind of a cop-out, and I think it gave them an excuse to do the three movies with J.J. Abrams. I didn't like what he did with Star Wars, so I'm kind of ambivalent. Basically, if you understand the first plot, Nero comes back, and Kirk's father gets killed, and, they get in this alternate universe, I guess, and Kirk rides a motorcycle. And then there's a bunch of battle scenes in that one. And then you get to this movie where, Kirk has joined the Academy. They're out on a planet trying to stop this volcano. I guess the ship is in the ocean because that would hide them from the indigenous population. Spock is in the volcano going to detonate a device, and the volcano, I guess, the device is going to blow up, and they've got a limited amount of time to save him, and with everything happening, trying to get a transporter lock on him. And they finally appear to the indigenous population. They get Spock off the planet. Starfleet is really mad at him. This alien known as, I think, John somebody or other, right? The terrorist, and supposedly blew up a Federation archive in London. And then they're all meeting in a room with Starfleet, and they're talking. Kirk is obviously lost command of the ship because Starfleet doesn't think he is capable right now of being a captain because he's not following Starfleet rules. But he gets to be second in command under Pike, I believe it was. And then
as they're sitting in this room, they're discussing why the terrorists would have gotten a non-warp signature ship, and all of a sudden, big firefight ensues and much explosion, which happens throughout the movie. And then, I think Pike is killed. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Pike, friend that was killed. And then, I'm trying to remember the Federation head guy's name. I should have reread it, Marcus or somebody or other. Anyway, they send Kirk out on this mission with 72 torpedoes, which we discover he's supposed to aim them at the terrorists and explode them. They go down to the planet and they, Bones is opening one of them up, and then, they discover there's people in there. And then they discover this guy's name is Khan. But it's not said like that. It's just Khan. So it doesn't have quite the feel of the first movie in the other alternate universe. There's much battling. The real Spock appears and tells the other Spock that, you can't tell them, how to do this, but interfere in the timeline. They've got to battle it themselves. And let's see, they defeated Khan in the other universe, but at much cost. That's fine. And then another big battle ensues, and basically his ship wipes out part of San Francisco, I guess, right? San Francisco's had a rough time in the Star Trek movies, by the way. And then, I guess at the end, Spock goes down to, Kirk gets, killed because he goes into the engine room. That's how they put it. He goes into the engine room. And, I'm not sure what happened to the signal. It got static on it really bad. It was great earlier today. But anyway, he goes in. He gets the radiation poisoning. He dies. I think they bring him back with Khan's DNA. Spock goes down to the planet, battles Khan, beats the daylights out of him. And back to a year later where they're all honoring those lost their lives. What did I think of the plot? Well, it was okay. Not one I wanted to see again, possibly. I credit to my friend and my wife's cousin Glenn. He watched it again the second time. Came over and watched it with us. And so he's seen it twice in his life. But I know of it. Like his friend Dad came over to see us, and was like, come on, get into it. Back to the world, let me try to feel.
All right, thank you, Bill. I'm not sure your signal was starting to fade there towards the end, so that classic trappings of a handy-talkie with the battery starting to fail, but I don't think it's that. I think you guys have some wind up there, something's going on, and it's a little crackly everywhere, but your signal was starting to deteriorate, so I just thought I'd mention that. All right. Next up is Virginia, NV5F. Virginia, what did you think of the plot for Star Trek Into Darkness?
Thanks, Tom, and thanks, Bill, for synopsizing the plot. This is definitely not the movie to skip that on, because it is convoluted. It's a very long movie. It's quite a bit longer than its alternate universe equal. This was the second of these movies, and it was definitely an attempt to do a parallel version of Star Trek II. Of course, the whole idea is it's in a different timeline where things transpired differently all the way from Captain Kirk's father being killed in a battle, when in the original Star Trek universe he was not, and of course, so that gives them license to do all kinds of crazy things that almost come across like fan fiction sometimes. It's like, oh, what if we got to just put Khan in this situation, or have Spock and Uhura be into each other, or whatever. So this is a mixed bag for me. I liked the first one pretty well. There were things they definitely couldn't do in this one because they had already used them in the first one, like the Kobayashi Maru, which is how the original Star Trek 2 started. But they used that up in another movie. I think it's so long. It's not really, to me, like Star Trek, and that's kind of been a criticism of these movies, is that they go on the side of action versus the sort of more laid-back, cerebral pace of a Star Trek movie, from olden times. I think gradually the action in Star Trek movies got ramped up over the years to the point where, now everything is wall-to-wall action and detail. That I always say now that these movies, the visual effects the way they are, that if your life was that detailed, you would just shut down. Like, if our lives were as detailed as movies are, and everything in our life was like in stark HD, computer-generated, even in an action-packed situation, if our lives were that detailed, I just don't think we could handle it. Plus, I see some of these fight scenes, and it's like, nobody would survive more than the first 3 seconds of some of these fight scenes. Everybody would have to stop and go to the hospital. And the stuff with, I guess I don't want to get too much into characterization, but the alternate version of the plot I thought was an interesting twist. This is one of those movies that I've maybe sat still through it, maybe twice, and I probably should have sat a little bit more still and paid a little more attention today, because it's just so complicated. And the whole thing of Khan, like, being on Earth instead of being found in space, and how he got there versus his compatriots that are still on these torpedoes. I don't see how that part of the plot would have been that different, because, his life transpired, long before Captain Kirk's dad's time travel split the timeline. So, I keep feeling like maybe that was a little bit of a stretch to have him enter the plot in a completely different way. I didn't really like how they had Carol and Marcus in this. By the time of Star Trek 2, in the original timeline, she and Kirk had, of course, Kirk accelerates through his career a lot quicker in this version. He's barely out of the academy, and he's a captain. Whereas, the implication in the original is that he was around for a while, and, when Carol and Marcus shows up in Star Trek 2, they've already had a past, and they have a grown son together that Captain Kirk has never met, and she's just such a totally different character in this one, and I just didn't see her as a British waif. I just never have liked that portrayal of her. And, this movie, like I said, there's some stuff in it I like. I like some of the banter. I like some of the, jokes. The humor in these movies I've always found to be very good. I like the characterizations. I love the new Scotty. I love the new Chekhov. I love the new Bones. I've never been crazy about the new Uhura. Now I'm getting into round 2 stuff, sorry. I just think that it was maybe an over-embellishment of the plot, which, you know, okay, he hasn't gone on his 5-year mission yet, which puts this very out of order, and it's so out of order with the original that it almost makes it like, you know, hard for me to, you know, get into because it's completely out of order, you know, as to how they, you know, I just don't think it, I just think there's stuff about it that doesn't work for me. But well done overall, you know, easy to follow in general. There are things, like I said, though, that are just so subtle, like the whole relationship of Khan with the guy whose daughter he's trying to save, and you know, he you know, leverages that, and I mean, it's just so, that whole opening, the setup of this is long, and it's just long. The setup is like super long. It's almost like it should have been 2 movies, but that's what they do now. They make these movies that are like 2.5 hours long, and they squeeze like, you know, 2 movies worth of story into like 1 really long movie, and maybe that's what the problem is for me. And some of the impossibilities of some of the things, you know, like just the fight scenes are so brutal. The violence in this is a little past where I like, where I feel like, oh yeah, that's just movie violence. You know, some of it gets a little bit intense and a little dark, and of course it's called Into Darkness. So anyway, I'll be done, or I could just talk too much. NV50.
No, you can't talk too long on this. I actually took some notes because I want to say a couple of things, elaborate on some of the things you said as well. Before we do that, though, I'm going to ask for additional check-ins. I didn't do that. I only did 1 round and 1 check-in, and I should have done a second round on the check-in. So if you've not checked in yet and you'd like to, please come to your call sign, your name, and did you see tonight's movie, Into Darkness?
This is Oscar Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I've seen this movie. This is again November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony here in East Dallas, Bird City. Yes, I've seen the movie.
This is Whiskey 5 Echo Bravo Bravo. David in Springtown. Yes, I've seen it.
Oops, there we go. Had to find the foot pedal again. All right, let's see here. We did get 3 people. KB9SOK, that's Sean over in, I think, Fort Worth. Yes, he saw it. NT5TM Tony in Dallas, he saw it. And W5EBB David over in, where's it? Spring? I forget. Anyway, I got you down as yes. Okay, well, we're still in the first round, which is the plot. So we'll start with Sean, KB9SOK. You saw the film. What'd you think of the plot?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, to be honest, I wasn't a fan of this one. You know, it's, you know, we start off obviously with, you know, Kirk basically screwing up. We already had this in the first film, and it seemed like this was a recurring, you know, trend throughout this alternate timeline. In the first, second, and third movie, you got basically Kirk being a screw-up. I don't like this because this was not to me Kirk.
This was just a complete deviation from his original characterization, but it's a major point of the movie. We spent the first, 20, 30 minutes really focused on that, and towards the end of him finally, realizing the errors of maybe his ways and becoming more like the Kirk that we know, but then as we go on to the third movie, he's kind of screwing up again. So, that part disappoints me. And then part of the bigger thing for me is that, we've got obviously a complete history, 5 years of travels for the Enterprise before and then time before and after. And did we really need to do a retread of the second movie? Personally, I think that was a mistake. I know they were trying to capitalize on the popularity of the second movie and do their twist on it. I get that. I'm sure it did bring a lot of people to theaters. I went and saw it. But I was always disappointed that it took the opportunity to do something new. Instead, we're altering characters that we already knew. And then I think one of the big points Virginia brought up was, the whole timeline thing with him being frozen. And, it just doesn't match up because obviously now Kirk's meeting him much earlier in his career, which just doesn't match. So it kind of throws you off. It doesn't make sense. So they didn't really think that through that well. There were a few aspects. I do like the humor, in these films, but obviously I mentioned, too, that someone mentioned earlier about, the difference between kind of Star Wars and Star Trek was, obviously Star Trek was supposed to be more cerebral, and we haven't gotten this as of recently with the new timeline, or even I think with most of the Star Trek that's even been on TV, exception of Strange New Worlds, doesn't still kind of feel like real Star Trek, but everything else hasn't that they've produced. So it's a little disappointing overall the direction that they kind of started, and these first films kind of kicked that direction off, and it just doesn't really feel like Star Trek for me. I tried to think about it last night after watching it, as if I was maybe a young kid going to see this for the first time, never seen the originals, would I have liked it? I probably would have liked it okay, just because I didn't know any better. So it wasn't really truly a bad movie, probably not, but as a fan of the originals, and, I still like Star Trek in general, but I was just very disappointed that the kind of the direction they took it. There was a few bright points in this thing. They did try to get a little bit cerebral over the whole, they wanted to argue once again, should you help out, nations that don't have warp, or not nations, but worlds, even if they're going to die, then what's the point of not helping them? Just let them die? Why not help them to survive, so they have a chance. So they do kind of try to get a little bit into trying to think a little bit. Then, of course, then they get into the whole, argument of, do you prepare for the worst, as far as, building an army and an arsenal, or do you try to truly be humanitarian and focus your resources more on that kind of thing? And I think the original always did that. And but then they did try to kind of make that argument and how, what's the right thing to do there? What's better? What is humanity really? And they do kind of tackle that at the end with Kirk's speech that, obviously what was happening was wrong. But, so they did make an attempt, but they focused so much more just really on the action and trying to find ways to tie this into the original from 2 years, or the original, the second one, not 2 years ago, the second film, that I just think it was a waste of opportunity. And just overall, I really didn't like it. I've seen it a couple times. Was it horrible? No. Once again, had I not been into the originals as much, I probably would have liked it better. I actually liked the first film they did better just because at least it was a unique story and we were kind of kicking things off. And like I said, there were a few good things in here. Some of that is characterization, which I will get into in the second round. Okay, back to that KB9S, okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. And you touched on a couple of things I was going to do, but I will anyway later. Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your thoughts on the plot for our fine film from KE5ICX?
Thank you, Tom. I really enjoyed this movie in the sense that it was a big-budget, major production. We didn't have to deal with animatronic ants or strange mechanical flying creatures. I mean, it was all very smooth and very easy to watch, and so that was very good. You know, it was a very easy movie to see. Unfortunately, it's also a very easy movie to forget. Oh boy, so much fist fight, so much color cast, so much not very interesting. I mean, everyone had such amazing blue eyes. That was just incredible. In the sense of literally, I can't believe, why is everyone in Starfleet afflicted with these amazing light blue eyes? Did they get eye bleach in their face? That must be very painful. So yeah, it was a big budget movie. I found the effort engaging. I found the actors earnest, and I found the plot was, a thrill a minute, but at no point was it interesting or surprising. Whoop-de-doo. You know, thank you for the effort. Thank you for, putting all that into this. But, whoop-de-doo. There was no surprise here for me. NT5TM.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you, Tony. Next is David, W5EBB. David, your thoughtful thoughts on this film from KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I had not watched this in quite a while either. I just rewatched the first hour, which was pretty good because the plot had not gotten overly convoluted at that point. But I just want to mention that opening, or not the opening scene, but the scene where the secret archive is exploded, and it kind of challenges that notion of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the needs of the few outweigh the needs of the many. In this case, it was tragic to save one person at the expense of killing, dozens of people. So the Star Trek franchise is really wishy-washy on this moral guideline, and this movie particularly upends the notion that it really applies in general. So there's really no consensus. Maybe they should just focus on instead condensing it to do the right thing. W5EBB.
Well, that was quick. Okay. Anyone else want to check in before I give my comments and we go back to the top of the list? Anyone else want to check in? Please come now. Okay, well, let me give my usual spiel, especially with Star Trek films. Lest we forget, this is a television series turned into a movie series, turned into a rebooted movie series, but it's still based on a television show. And kind of is an action-adventure, but with better stories. When you go and do a motion picture, and this is no exception, you've got to popularize it. You got to make it so it will be appealing to a wider audience because it's a bigger budget film, costs more money, and you've got one shot to make this thing work unless it becomes some sort of cult classic and a cash cow, but you only get one shot to make your money back. And to do so, you have to get to the lowest common denominator, which means kids, people who don't know Star Trek, all of that. And there's another guide here, and that is that the Wrath of Khan, which is what this film is really emulating, was an action-adventure movie. It had a big, gigantic, antagonist in it. So they just said, well, why don't we just redo the film and see if it'll be a success, because it is the most popular one in the series, The Wrath of Khan. And this one did okay, but, I mean, it's kind of a reboot. part of it is, too, is that after the cat was out of the bag, or as Khan was out of the bag, there was a shock value. We didn't know who our antagonist was in the film until he revealed himself, and that was considered the big secret, and there was a hush in the audience, I am your father moment, although it was beginning to become known that he was, Cumberbatch was going to be Khan in this. Although he doesn't look anything like Khan, and I don't know, I never kind of understood that, but at any rate, that's just the way it is. The thing, too, I think somebody mentioned something about Kirk being the youngest captain in Starfleet, missing out on his days on, I forget what the ship was, whatever it was, which was mentioned in the original series as a junior officer, and that. Let us not forget that Captain Kirk in the original series was also, I think, the youngest person to make the captainship. I think they pushed it a little bit in this, but now that we're more than 10 years into these movies, it's not a big deal anymore, but maybe it was at the time. And plenty of chances to make mistakes with a big, expensive starship with lots and lots of people on board. Sure, you're going to give it to a kid who just got his driver's license. Still doesn't make any sense to me either. Some of the things that bothered me in this, as far as the plot was concerned, is the unlimited transporter. This is supposed to be, back in the early days of Starfleet, or at least the earlier days. How come this transporter doesn't exist in Next Generation and all that? The idea is to have the starship in the first place is so that you can go on adventures. You have people to go on adventures with, but if you got a transporter, you just go, okay, I'm going to go either, you make up your mind. You want to go to Kronos, the home world, or do you want to go to the corner and get a gallon of milk? I mean, it's pretty much the same thing with the same consequences. Nothing. You just get there, you come back, there's no danger, nothing to be considered. Just don't bump into any Klingons on your way. Or you can go to Kronos and get a gallon of milk there. Maybe it's better, I don't know. Probably raw milk would probably be my guess. Let's see, that was one thing. The other thing, too, is that the whole con thing. Oh, I remember what the third thing was I wanted to do. Okay, hang on. I'll bring that up, otherwise I'll forget. Is the fact that they used Khan's blood to bring back Captain Kirk. And it had to be Khan, couldn't be anybody else, even though the 72 canisters have, torpedoes all have superhumans in them. All of them are still around, and all you had to do was pull blood from any one of them to do the same thing that would bring back Kirk. Now, I don't know with the superhuman tendencies whether that works or not. It kind of seems like a cheat, just like the transporter's a cheat. I didn't like that so much, but and this happens particularly. It happened in the later treks before they reached to the newer series started coming out a few years ago. That just drives me nuts. It makes it too easy for things to be solved through technobabble and outrageous science and simple stuff. I don't like that. I like my characters to think their way out of it and have repercussions for what they do. You don't kill somebody and bring them right back. I hate that. And I was not particularly fond of it in Star Trek 3 either. So, but as we all know in Star Trek, people who die in Star Trek never stay dead. They always come back to life somehow. So there's that. Another thing I didn't like, or I found a bit awkward, was the old reversal on the flooding the compartment, and the fact that Kirk shouts Khan over his transceiver, what is it, the communicator, when we do know that in that film he was playing it up, because he already knew that he was going to be rescued when he shouts Khan and retribution. that he's being stranded. This was to convince Khan that he was that he was desperate, even though he wasn't. He was already playing Khan at that point. He was acting poorly, just like Shatner acting, and that was the point. So by taking that and having Spock do Khan in a very uncharacteristic way, thinking that somehow this is a parallelism with the original story, was awkward. It didn't work. In fact, it was kind of cringeworthy when it happened. There was no motivation behind it. And then lastly, one of my things that drives me frickin' crazy with any Star Trek is, and I've not seen it, I think it's the Section 31, it is 31, right? Where they've got the clandestine operation that does all the dirty tricks and nasty stuff behind the backs of the good guys, the Boy Scout, Captain Kirk, and others. I'm sure that Roddenberry was not a fan of that, although he was by far not the most honest and upright person himself, but he would not have approved of the Section 31 stuff. And I find it somewhat disingenuous from Star Trek that had come before. But this was brought up, I think, in Deep Space Nine and continued on from there, and I've just never been a big fan of that idea. For Star Trek, I'm kind of an old school. I like the more purist approach, even though it's. If I want that, I can always go to Babylon 5 or Deep Space, Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, or any of those for the darker stories like that, or The Expanse. That's another one where you can do the political intrigue that goes deep with the conflicted individual. Star Trek didn't need that. It has the positive parts to it. And I was never a big fan of Deep Space Nine, although there are a few good episodes because of that very same reason. All right, well, we've done all that. Let me go back to the top of the list. I'm going to let Gus say something now. Gus, you're listening. If you're still around, I know it's a short time. You may be on, or you don't have to respond. It's okay, too. But W5GUS, you've heard a little bit about the story. Is this something you're begging to see? You want to go out and see it? By the way, it's available for free on YouTube right now. So if you go over there, you'll find it. Just type in Into Darkness, and it'll pop right up to the top of the list. So W5GUS, are you there, and what do you think? Okay, he did say it was going to be short time, so hopefully he got what he needed out of it. So next up would be Brenda, WV5OZL. Brenda, your comments on, this time we're talking about characterization and acting. What do you think?
This is WV5OZL. Stand by just a moment. I was getting feedback on my speakers. I'm having so many technical difficulties, on my phone now, but using a speaker to listen. Anyway, characterization. I thought everybody in this was really good. It's amazing how some of these actors have taken on those iconic roles and made it their own. They did pretty well. Now, when I saw this movie first run, of course, and I had never heard of Benedict Cumberbatch, and I said, what, a Brit playing the Mexican Khan? No, not right. But I have, of course, become a huge fan of his since then. I thought he did a pretty good job, although he was somebody else. He wasn't Khan. Khan is Ricardo Montalban, and with that smooth, icy, cold, calculating demeanor, whereas this Khan was sort of unhinged a lot. And Benedict Cumberbatch also did the voice of Smaug in the Lord of the Rings, The Desolation of Smaug. And a lot of times when he spoke, that's all I could hear is the dragon. So that was a little bit distracting. But in the end, I think he did a pretty good job, and he's just a fantastic actor. He could just do everything. I wasn't real sold with Carol Marcus. There's just something about her that didn't seem right. I was sort of miscast somehow. I can't quite put my foot on it. And I couldn't disassociate Admiral Marcus from RoboCop. So I don't know how you get around that. But I thought the characters generally were pretty well written and, stayed true enough to canon that they were fairly believable. And, okay, I'm going to go. This is, see you next round, WB5OZL. Back to next.
PDS. Billy, what do you think about characterization on our fine film tonight? She did mention she would be short time. KF5 PDS. Billy, you still there?
Yep, sorry about that. I am still here, but I will be disappearing here shortly. As far as characterization goes, I agree with Brenda. I had never seen Benedict Cumberbatch. This was my first experience seeing him act. And I really, his con was really unnerving. I thought he was pretty cold and calculating. I thought Ricardo Montalban, he still had that, that Latin charm. He had some, charisma there. But this con, to me, he was just all business. But I really enjoyed his portrayal. And for those who like his acting, you should check out Benedict Cumberbatch in Hamlet. They did a production of him in London's Barbican Theater. So if you're a Cumberbatch fan, check out that performance of Hamlet. But yeah, I enjoyed his portrayal. I really don't remember much. I enjoyed Anton Yelchin as Chekhov so much, and was so sad when he died so freakishly in that auto accident. But I really enjoyed his portrayal of Chekhov. And I like Zachary Quinto as Spock, too. I think the reboot characters, but I was not a fan of the Spock Uhura connection there. I don't know, it just didn't have the original warmth, I thought, between the characters. This was a little bit more, to me, clinical portrayals of the characters, but I enjoyed they did have some good camaraderie between Kirk, Spock. I love Carl Urban's portrayal, which is interesting because he is also in Lord of the Rings. So it was neat to see some of that connection there. But yeah, I like the characterizations on them for the most part. But other than that, nothing else really stands out as memorable. Again, it's been a long time since I've seen the film. But those are the things that stand out to me still. But it does bear rewatching. So hopefully I'll get to see it again soon. So with that, Tom, I'll return it to you as KF5PDS back to net.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Billy. Next up will be Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, your thoughts on characterization acting from our fine film Into Darkness from KE5ICX.
Hey, Tom, I believe Virginia's next, but I'll go if you want me to.
Oh, wait a minute. I did miss Virginia. I'm so sorry. Virginia, NV5F. Well, I think I... Oh, I see what I did. Okay, hold on here, folks. I messed up big time. Let me go back to... next in line was Brian, K9AHO. I messed up the order here. Order out, so that's my fault. So let me amend and go back up to... Brian, K9AHO. Brian, go ahead. What do you think about characterization on our film tonight?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it turns out I hadn't seen this movie, so instead I'm enjoying your description of your impressions of the characterization. So I'll probably just be in listen mode from here on out. K9AHO.
All right, no problem. Let me see here. Next, if Tom can read his notes correctly, that would be Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your thoughts on characterization.
Okay, we'll see how this works. Like I said, I tested today, and everything was fine on the repeater, so if I need to, I'll switch to Echo Link for transmitting. For a minute, I thought I was in an alternate universe and got left out. But anyway, no, seriously. I like the Spock character. I think Chekhov, the guy who played Scotty, definitely did a great job. The way the character sounded was unbelievable. I did not like the character of Kirk, and I didn't like it in the first reboot movie. Didn't care for the character of Uhura. I liked Khan. So that portrayal was good. Here's where I wish they would have gone with it. Because Marcus woke Khan up, held those people as hostages, to get Khan to make his weapons for him. I would have liked to see Khan and Kirk join forces, battle, and bring this guy to justice to Starfleet, and then the 72 people get woke up and they're actually good in this universe. I think that would have been a much more interesting plot twist than have the same old Khan. I was hoping for a really, kind of like when they went to the alternate universe in the original Star Trek and the characters were bad, trying to knock each other off to get the control of the Enterprise. And I would have... How interesting. I would have much preferred a different plot twist than kind of the same old, same old. And again, so the characters, I like 3 of them. I thought they did a really good job on those, or 4 of them, I guess. But I really wish they would have taken it in a really different direction. Back to you, Tom, W5BLT.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I kind of agree. All right, now it is Virginia NV5F. My apologies to everybody. I cut out a whole swath of people. My fault. So, Virginia, what did you think about your of characterization and the acting in our film tonight?
Well, there's a lot of characters in this. Going back to the the first reboot movie, I generally liked the casting. I like Bones. I like Chekhov. I think he's way better than Walter Koenig ever was. I like the new Spock. They did a good job with him. I like Christopher Pine as Kirk. The actor himself has some very, I know why they picked him. He's got some Shatner-like charisma and qualities, even about, his looks and how he delivers lines. And I can buy him as Kirk before we, in the alternate timeline, everything's kind of happening earlier, so I can buy him as Kirk when he was younger. So I don't really have a whole lot of problems with him. I have a little bit of issue with, Starfleet making some of the decisions they made about Kirk, and how he got into being a captain so early. I have a little bit of trouble with some of that. It's a little unrealistic. And I like Pike. I've always liked the Pike character in this series of movies. The new Uhura is too serious. Her relationship with Spock, I know it's an alternate timeline, but they hint at that a little in the TV show. In the first couple episodes, when they're still starting to develop characters, there is a little bit of the original Uhura expressing some kind of a crush on Spock. And I know that's where that comes from, but so there's a germ of that they kind of get rid of really quickly in the original series. But then we have to get to Khan, and I have some issues with Khan going all the way back to the very beginning. Khan is played by Ricardo Montalban, who's Spanish, I believe, and Khan was Asian, and they did a very good job in the original series with making Khan Asian. His dress, his hairdo, everything about, and I didn't have any trouble with, Ricardo Montalban playing an Asian. His name, Khan Noonien Singh, is there anything more Asian than that? Indian, subcontinent of India, I guess, would be where that surname comes from. But anyway, in the movie, The Wrath of Khan, they just kind of left all that, and they just turned Khan into this, he's been stranded on City Alpha 5 forever, and, but I don't know, they just kind of got rid of all that, and so then they replace him in this movie with some sort of kind of wiry British guy, and he still had the same name. And then what's interesting is that the guy who he helps with the cure or whatever, that guy's Indian. I don't know. I have issues with all that. It just kind of weirds me out. It's like, okay, what nationality is Khan? It just seems to kind of keep changing. So that's kind of annoying to me. And I just, there might have been reasons they decided over the years to change things or let that whole thing slide. And then when you get into the new Strange New Worlds show, there's a reference to Khan, and they actually were culturally accurate. I won't go into the details in case there's people here who have not seen that, and I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. But Strange New Worlds is one of the only of the newer Star Trek shows, of which there are way too many. It's one of the only ones I really, overall, that I like. Going back to the character of a lot of the newer Star Trek just being kind of out of character for, just the dark qualities of the new stuff like. And I never did like the Section 31 stuff even in Deep Space Nine. I like Deep Space Nine, but I've never liked that. And, of course, I think they're trying to do a show of that, or they're doing one, or they've done one. I don't know. I don't keep up anymore. But I've never liked that stuff either. But, yeah, lots of characters in here, and some of them better than others. I did not buy Carol and Marcus. That whole just, you know, I understand everything happened in a different order, in a different way, but I don't know, just overall good acting. Overall, across the board, you know, these movies have good acting, and but yeah, that's my take on the characters, and in my mind, the whole Khan dilemma, which nobody ever talks about. Like, I've never heard anyone rag on the whole Khan inconsistency thing. So there you go, NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. And yeah, I'll have comments about that, though. Let's see now. Next is Sean, KB9SOK. Now it's your turn. Your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, one of the highlights of this maybe extended movie was the acting. I do think that the acting overall was actually good. I agree, you know, as far as, like, you know, some of my favorite characters is obviously the new Scotty. I very much, you know, I do like the new Spock. I like Bones, Chekhov. You know, I think those characters are, you know, I do really like them. You know, oddly enough, maybe just because I'm a technical person, Scotty's my favorite. Even though he's not really like the original Scotty, but he's just, I really like the way they portrayed him. And yeah, her is not my favorite. I do like the portrayal of her in Strange New Worlds much better. Yeah, I too also wasn't crazy about the relationship between her and Spock in this movie, of course, in the first movie. I just didn't feel like it really should have been there. So disappointed with that. Chris Pine did okay as Captain Kirk. For me, he was one of my personal kind of letdowns in this, as far as most of the characters. Maybe not as much as the Kirk character, but I don't know. To me, something still just felt off. I think he did okay. It's nothing against his acting. It's just the way it was written. Not that he did it badly. I think he acted it just as he was asked to. I mean, he's okay, but it's just, yeah, you know, it just doesn't quite feel right to me. But yeah, I agree that you know, I don't know why they brought, you know, Kirk's future wife back, or what would have been his wife. But yeah, not a whole lot to say here overall. I do like the humor in this one. I think the actors overall did good. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a real fan of the story arc for Kirk. You know, the rest of the characters seem to be on a pretty decent story arc other than the romance. So, yeah, not a whole lot to say on this round. But back to that, KB9S, okay.
All right, thank you, Sean. Next is Tony, NT5TM. Tony, your thoughts, characterization, acting.
Thank you, Tom. Part of what made this movie fun was that I thought all of the actors did a very good job, a very good effort with what they've been given. I didn't think anyone sold their character short. I didn't think anyone under or overacted. I thought the work was very professional. That said, I actually like the little Spock-Uhura, you know, very chaste romance. I thought that was a, you know, I don't like disagreeing with other amateurs that I respect, but I thought that was really neat. I actually really appreciate someone writing to try to tie Spock back to his human heritage. not just in his friendship with Kirk, but, maybe he might dream of having a girlfriend. I actually really liked that. I liked it in the previous sequel, which I think we even watched, and I liked it here. I don't think they overdid it. It's like, don't forget, you're part human too, like with Winston Churchill being both British and American. Just never give up. Don't forget. Remember. Now, that said, I guess Benedict Cumberbund or Where's the Tux or whoever was Khan did a great job. I just strenuously object to the way the character was written. I love the Ricardo Montalban version. He's supposed to look like a Superman. I loved both the big muscles and the bright eyes, and I just never thought that character lived up to that. Not in this movie, at least. I guess I felt he was more annoying than scary, and that's just a fault, not of the actor at all. The actor worked very hard, whatever his name was. That's just the fault of the people who made the movie, not the actor. So, I think all the actors worked very hard. I enjoyed their portrayals. I loved the Uhura Spock thing. I thought it was very nice and subtle and helped me remember that Spock was half human. I just wish they'd gotten someone else to portray Khan, not the actor's fault. NT5TM.
Interesting. Thank you, Tony. Next up, David, W5EBB. David, same question to you. What you think of characterization and acting for KE5I6?
Well, thanks, Tom. I think the early scenes between Pike and Kirk, the surrogate father-son relationship between them was moving, but you don't want to be a father figure to Kirk. It has a limited life expectancy. And I also agreed, I thought it was kind of a fun aspect of the movie that worked, was the interplay, really among Kirk, Spock, and Uhura, like the scene where Uhura and Spock are getting into a spat and Kirk is brought unwillingly into it. I guess the Carol Marcus character was the same person who invented the Genesis device in the earlier timeline, and here she's a weapon expert, so maybe the Klingon crew had it right all along. Now this is kind of weird, but at 39 minutes into the movie, after Captain Kirk accepts Scotty's resignation, Kirk tells Chekhov, played by Anton Yelchin, "You're my new chief now, put on a red shirt." Chekhov looks kind of sullen and ponders what was just said, but now it's eerily jolting to hear that line in that scene because we all know what happens to those with a red shirt in the original series, and Yeltsin died 3 years later in a highly improbable freak accident when his Jeep dropped out of gear and rolled back onto him and pinned him against a pillar at his home. So, yeah. But yeah, so I thought the characters were fine. They were engaging and entertaining. And that's it. W5EBB.
All right, thank you, David. Does anyone else want to check in before I give my comments? Please come with your call.
Kilo Echo 5 Lima Zulu Echo checking in.
Yeah, there was a station out there. I didn't quite get the call. Try again. Okay, wasn't sure what that exactly was, but at any rate, okay. Well, my comments, I'm not going to rehash. Everybody kind of gave on the main characters. Well done. They pretty much channeled the original characters and gave a little bit of their own spin on there. I thought they did a great job with that. I agree. Probably the most miscast character and the weirdest character is Khan. And they had problems. I had problems with him as, he's supposed to be Indian or Asian, and we have a Hispanic character. But Ricardo Montalban did fine in the role, and I think he was convincing enough that we liked him in the role. Cumberman is fine. This is not the character. It's an ethnic type of non-white character. He's definitely very white, and while I guess it's okay, and he pulled it off, I guess, it just doesn't ring true to me. I just have problems with it. I know other people feel the same way. Just put it out of your mind. It's the casting choice, and that's the way it is, and you just live with it. And it was meant to be a surprise, but the biggest surprise is that it doesn't work really all that well, at least not for me. So there you have it. Okay, let's make that short and sweet. We are only 10 minutes away with more people than we've got time. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and ask if you've got something you want to bring up, final comments or anything technical nature, since we're in that area, or something that you missed the first time around. I'll take you in the order that I get your call sign. So if you got something else you would like to talk about or mention, please come with your call sign now, and I'll take it in order.
Check in, check in, check in. Check in.
Check in. The only problem is I can't get a call, and you're kind of spotty into the repeater. You want to try again? Give me your call twice, and I'll get you checked in.
Kilo Echo 5 Lima Zulu Echo. Kilo Echo 5 Lima Zulu Echo. Randy in Louisville checking in.
Okay, I got you, Randy. KE5LZE. We're reaching towards the end of the net, so I'll tell you what. I'll let you give first dibs. What did you see? Star Trek Into Darkness, and what comments do you have for us this evening, if you did?
No, I have not, and no comment. I'm just totally just monitoring. That's all I'm doing, just monitoring. Listening in. QSL?
All right, no problem. We encourage check-ins even if you don't have anything to say. We like to know who's out there. So, yeah, come back next week. We start at 10:30 and we go until midnight. So, welcome, Randy. Glad you're here. Anyone else have any comments they want to bring to the net? Please come with your call now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
W5EBB.
NV5F.
Okay, good. We got three. So I've got Tony, NT5TM, W5EBB, David, and NV5F, Virginia. So we'll start with Tony. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I know this is basically a boring comment, but I still want to get it out there because I'm worried I'll fall asleep first. Tom, I know you've moved away. I know you're living in a much sunnier climate, but I really appreciate your doing our nets. Aaron listens, and we're really glad you're here. And I just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully I can catch you every time that I get a chance here and say thank you. I thought the movie was mostly great, except for Khan, who I disagreed with. But I don't disagree with you at all. I'm just really glad you're here. NT5TM, appreciating you're still checking in with us.
Doing All-Star Link, so I can do this and continue to be a part of it. This is probably my favorite net. Most work goes into Skynet, but I think this is my favorite net. All right, W5EBB, EBB, David, what do you got?
Yeah, thanks again for running the net. This is can be a very fun net, and I appreciate all you do for us, Tom. So I watched this in 3D. Yes, that's right, 3D movies. This was kind of at the tail end of when 3D was at its, it is kind of on the down slope. But I watched a little bit of it tonight, and it is really well done. If you have a 3D copy of this, have a look at it. The visuals are great. The music, okay, Michael Giacchino, he is liberally employed by J.J. Abrams, and he is one of my least favorite composers. He's among the new generation that their music is just one-dimensional and really just incidental. There are no character-specific themes, no leitmotifs, no nuance. It would have been cool to have like a Jaws motif every time Khan was on screen, maybe have a love theme for Spock and Uhura. And at worst, it becomes a distraction in some of the scenes where it tries to upstage the emotion of the scene, such as during Pike's death. Johnny, what are we going to do with you when you're gone? W5EBB.
All right, thank you, David. And maybe I have something to say about music after everybody else. ND5F, Virginia, your comments.
Okay, Tom. Well, I have to say that All-Star Link is working very well. It's sounding better than it has ever in the last few weeks. I guess the kinks have been worked out of everything. Echo Link is generally working pretty well as well. I'm sorry that Brenda's having some troubles this evening. I kind of agree about the music. I do miss real movie music. I don't find any movie music terribly memorable enough, especially not even to like buy a soundtrack or anything or a score. The music in this movie is really familiar to me because a few years ago I was watching a lot of Star Trek, and I had a Star Trek list I listened to on YouTube, and it had all this music on it. And so I've heard the music from this movie more than I've seen the movie. But I do, despite the fact that movie music in general is just not great anymore, I do think the theme, the new Star Trek theme for these movies is pretty good. I do like some of the music, the score music in the next movie, which is the one where they go to the crazy space, the base, the Yorktown, I don't know. Anyway, they go there. Star Trek Beyond, that's what it's called. I like some of the music in that, but I do like at the end of this one and at the end of the previous one, I do like what they do with the original Star Trek theme. I think the closing title sequence is just visually very cool, and I actually like how they weave the new Star Trek movie theme into the old TV show theme. And I've enjoyed that in both of these movies, the reboot one and this one. So anyway, you can jump off onto music from there, Tom. I'm sure you have plenty to say about the music, and I also wanted to offer to do the net next week since I haven't done it in a while. So thanks for all you do. NB5F.
very good. Thank you, Virginia. Thanks for the comments. Thanks all for the comments. Yeah, Michael Giacchino, I think, is a wonderful composer. He's been around for a while now, but he was doing Medal of Valor music for the video game back when they started putting orchestral scores into video games. In fact, video games sometimes see as much money in the games, in development and production and all of that, as it does with a major motion picture. So he was heard. J.J. Abrams was brought. A gamer who worked for J.J. Abrams said, "You got to hear this guy's stuff." He heard it and invited him on board, and he worked on a couple of TV series for J.J. Abrams, and then moved on to do Star Trek and other things. He's very good. I like his music. I'm a Jerry Goldsmith fan from way back, and even Jerry Goldsmith had recommended Alexander Courage, who wrote the main theme for Star Trek, because he was too busy. He couldn't do it. He was working too much on motion pictures and television because he was a hot commodity in the mid to late 60s and into the 70s, of course. So, yep, that sometimes happens, and I like his stuff quite a bit. I love the way he integrates it, and I get a little wispy when I hear the main theme to Star Trek done so well with a full orchestra like that. That's really great, and with such enthusiasm. Obviously, Giacchino is a big fan of Star Trek music and the main theme. Okay, well, with that, let me, here I've been sitting here, I could have been bringing up the stuff for next week's movie. Hang on a sec, I'll tell you exactly what it is. Okay, this is an interesting film. I have never heard of this before. It is a science fiction film. It's called Idaho Transfer from 1973. In fact, we've got 3 upcoming movies that are just crazy science fiction stuff that I don't think anybody's ever heard of before, but probably are all good, all from the 1970s. So the first one is called Idaho Transfer. I'll have the links up for you tomorrow morning sometime when I get the thing written up and sent out, and you'll find it over on Afterglow Movie on Facebook if you get it there, or in your email inbox. So that's it for me. I'll go watch the Lost in Space episode. I think this is one of the really bad ones. 2 weeks in space, I think, is the episode. But I think I may fall asleep instead. See you all. Until next time, and I enjoy doing this. My pleasure. See you all. Have a good evening, and don't let the bed bugs bite. KE5 ICX clear.